So they roll out for race number 2. It's only been a couple of hours since they were last out, and the track is completely different to what we saw in race number 1.
Well, it is, and this is the real challenge for these guys because they're on that new Cumho tyre, and they've never really experienced it in wet weather conditions so far. So they're all going to be experiencing something brand new, a bit of a pioneer for all of them. Still see in the background there, the rain is coming down. So we'll get Cameron down in pit lane later on to find out who's on new tyres, who's on not, and see if we get an understanding of how this is all going to roll itself out.
So the grid is determined by the results of race number 1. Tomorrow for race number 3, it's longer in duration, and it'll be a bit of a mixed bag, a top 15 reverse race like we saw on the streets of Adelaide for round number 1. Haven't been down here since 2015, but it's the 6th time they've been to Tasmania. We're heading back to some different tracks this year in the championship. That's really their only offshore race of the year. They spent the back half of last year in New Zealand. As we take a look at some of our onboard cameras, James Duckworth we're on board with right now, and as rain drops beating down these screens, it's going to be tricky in race number 2.
It is, and they've got no windscreen wiper either, so they get the Rain-X out and put that all over the screen. Hopefully it drips off and they can see straight through it. So it's good to see we've got a number of different competitors throughout the field. On board there was Charlotte Pointing. She's done a great job over the course of the weekend. Had that little drama in practice where it broke a tail shaft. So she missed out on the extra lap she needed to learn the circuit. But very competitive young Carter and is doing very well.
Pole position after that race win goes to Jai Robson. Craig Woods will start on the front row for Western Sydney Motorsport. Blake Skibberus in the second for the WSM car starts alongside James Duckworth. Kel Tressler and Joel Heinrich on his debut starting out of 6th down to Reece Chapman and Darren Chamberlain. Chris Stevenson and Brendan Tucker had a quiet race, finishing back in 10th spot in race number 1.
So there's Ben Walsh. He was the man to beat. He was out in front and then actually ran off the road a couple of times, unfortunately, but he was the fastest car out there. So as we run through the grid, Ben Walsh, Lee Bowler, who we saw off the road, Thompson, the 2 Thompson cars together there, Sam Chester, Charlotte Pointing. She's down in 16th position, expect to see her battle her way forward. In the back row of the grid there, we've got Chivers and Higgins. So it's going to be a bit of a battle here. We've got like young Blake Skibberus there. He's actually into 3rd place. He wasn't too strong early in that race, but as the race went on, he became more prominent in the results.
14 drivers' barks haven't been here before, and throw in the mix that it's wet, significantly wetter than what we expected down here. Confirmation from Cameron Vanderdungen, who's buried probably in one of the bunkers right now and out of this rain. So it's going to be even trickier. It's a long circuit, so one point could be really heavy, where the other part could be really damp to dry.
Well, the weather's coming from just behind these cars at the moment from the north, so this end of the circuit will see the rain first. But not only are they on a new circuit, they're racing on a new tyre, and it's wet weather and they've never been here before, so there's a whole lot of variations they've got to get their head around in terms of making the most of this race.
There's Darren Chamberlain left-hand side, support from Parenzo on board the 36 car alongside Reece Chapman in the 25 car. The last few cars taking their positions at the back of the field. Ruth Bowler in the old little Ford Coupe at the back.
There's Waters on the back of the grid. We saw him in qualifying have that drama with the engine blow up and catch fire, so they've managed to get an engine in that car, and he's made the back of the grid. 5
seconds being held out from our starters box, waiting for the lights to disappear, as they do now in race number 2. It's going to be tricky, it's going to be slippery. It's all about being patient going down into turn number 1, but Robson has got a good start as they splash their way down into turn number 1.
Robson had a great start there. Stevenson in the back of Kel Tressler, is it? Pushing each other around. They're still spinning, trying to find a way through. But, yeah, obviously locked a break there. Stevenson in the back of Kel Tressler, spun him round, and they've managed to get going.
So down to turn 4, just split the field up into a couple of groups here right now. So Robson from Woods, as it was in race number 1, pulls to the outside. I think he did that to avoid the back of the 6-star entry. Will slot back into 2nd place.
You can see he wasn't stopping there. He found a little bit of road on the exit and managed to run high. But using that high line, look at what it's done. It's actually helped him get some good momentum off the corner, and he's now going to come back at Robson, down the inside, got a toe. This is the first lap through, so you're trying to work out whether or not you can stay flat or not. That little bit of a moment there for Robson's given Woods the opportunity, so Woods down the inside now.
The tail was absolutely wagging on the 6-star entry, and now Woods takes the lead as he tiptoes his way out of turn 6. Robson's not done as he puts the 98 car back down the inside, but he's left the door open for another challenge here on the front curve at the end of lap number 1.
So we've had 3 lead changes already in the matter of 1 lap. Through the puddles, then Duckworth's doing a great job. He's catching these 2 as well. Skibberus just in the background and young Joel Heinrich. So not only is he having his first race in an Aussie race car, he's having his first race in the wet in an Aussie race car as well on the same weekend.
Look at the lack of vision through the front of James Duckworth. Yeah, he can see as much as we can right now as the water beads inside the cockpit of the RDA brakes entry. Back in third position right now.
It's one of the biggest problems here in Tasmania with these straights and the high speeds on the straights. It creates a lot of spray, and it's very difficult to see out the front of the car. Without a wiper, you've obviously got that water rushing off the screen, but trying to pick where you need to be, you're just hoping everyone else is staying on the loud pedal like you are.
The good news is he can see his dash anyway, fifth gear, and just going by feel at the moment through turn 5. You see the Perspex windscreen just flexing at high speed. They're still doing around 165 kilometres per hour in these conditions through the sweeper. So our 2 leaders go down to turn 6. And there is Skibberus now feeling pressure from Joel Heinrich. Replay of the start here. Wasn't too bad from the first few rows, but then Carl Tressida would lock up the Can't Centre Perth entry and sent the field scrambling.
As you can see, Robson just got an absolute
contact.
Absolute jump, but Stevenson got into the back of Kel Tressida. Spun him around, and then we had Stevenson backwards as well.
It was 15 all by the time they got out of turn number 2. It's on board with Charlotte Pointing. The Newcastle Auto Electrics entry down to turn number 1, side by side with the Hertz. Cara Thompson almost rubbing that gold leaf. Into the back, and
cars going everywhere there.
And there's a couple of positions made up straight away in slow-mo. Look how far back Stevenson was. He goes past the Parenzo entry of Chamberlain and into the back of the Cart Centre entry of Carl Tressida. If you look around going, dude, what are you doing? It's the first corner.
He locked it up right towards the end there. Obviously, way too much speed coming into that braking zone. And just got the back of Kel Tressida, spun him round. And then this continued because it ended up with Stevenson backwards on the exit. So, obviously, there's Charlotte Pointing. We watch her. She was doing a great job, locking up the fronts, running wide, and beaching, burying the little Aussie race car there. So that won't go any further in that one.
That's the way it's sunk into the gravel down there. Is that going to be enough to bring out the safety car perhaps right on the entry point into turn number 1? So Charlotte's pointing the wrong direction here off the track.
It's not a very good position to be, so obviously she's very disappointed with that. It's got a yellow flag out there, so safety car boards as well.
Someone else has spun in the background of the shot. This is the 4 of Tucker, the all-purpose entry.
So with the safety car out now, they can bring the field under control. There's a safety car joining the circuit. One of the biggest problems here with these little Aussie race cars, those puddles are still quite big. And when they get those puddles, the car just so light, they just aquaplane through and slide away. So that looks like it's what's happened there with both Charlotte and Tucker. They've managed to hit that puddle. We've got another one rejoining. It's obviously new experience for them on the Cumho tyre in terms of this wet weather condition.
So safety car is out, the Porsche safety car out on the track right now, and there's a chance to have a look around and get some vision back. It's Robson, Woods. It was only 0.6 of a second. There'll be nothing now when they catch the safety car up. These laps do count towards the race total. Hopefully it shouldn't be too long before we go back to green flag racing. Robson, another one of the strong karting races in there, is Pointing. He's got pretty much every colour on the colour chart on the 52 car. Helps us identify it anyway.
We've just got to find that safety car and get the field under control. Obviously, with 5 laps gone now, time certain race, so if they get the full race distance in, we'll wait and see. But it's easy to move these cars. They can get it out of the way very quickly. There's the safety car, so Robson will take up that position behind the safety car. The field will come under control, and then we'll wait for the recovery crew to get out there and clean up the cars that have run off.
So the first race finished under safety car, even though it was the final lap in race number 1 today, giving Robson the win ahead of Woods. Now gives the chance the likes of Tressida, who got spun around in the opening lap. He's up to 7th position now. Ben Walsh, who went off the track in race number 1, started from 11, is now inside the top 10 in 8th. The 2 Thompsons have fallen down the order a bit here. Jeff Waters is back on the circuit too. They changed an engine after qualifying, so they didn't have time to get between qualifying and race number 1 to get their car back out. But he's back out fighting in race number 2 of the Aussie racing cars here in Tasmania.
This is where you've got to get that tyre temp and maintain the temperature. They drop very quickly. You get a little bit early on. Obviously, in these conditions, it's very hard to do that, particularly brake temp. I mean, obviously, the brake temp with the water around it, and you're not actually using it too hard, it drops very quickly. So then you find yourself on the restart struggling for grip, looking for where to brake the car, where to try and get the thing to go forward in amongst all the field around. You can see those rain lights in the back of those cars is so that in the spray is what we talked about. When you fly down the back straight here or in the front straight, and the spray's intense, you just cannot see the car in front. So they put those intense lights in the back of the windows so you can actually see what's going on.
Yeah, guys, just wanted to talk to you about wet weather setup. We talked earlier in race 1 about Cal Tressida over-pressuring the tyres for wet weather. Well, hopefully he's done that in this. Bargs, you're a man that spent a lot of time at kart tracks over the years. That's an old karting trick to overinflate the tyre and give it a little bit of a crown to help cut through the water.
It does, and it opens up the tread on the tyre and gives you less contact patch, therefore more load on the tyre to hopefully generate some grip. But as we saw with Cal Tressida, in the dry conditions, when you've planned for that, what tends to happen is you overheat the tyre and the grip goes away. So, you know, you'll see some of these guys, and particularly the girls who have come from karting, using different lines and a bit of that strategy. Back in the old days, we used to run slicks in go-karting in the wet, so you pumped them right up so there was only like, you know, a very fine line of rubber that was actually touching the road, and that's how we used to get away with it. And it's very similar to the way they go about what they're doing here.
Good news is Charlotte's car's out of the gravel and starts up with a high amount of revs, and away she goes. Race winner last year in the Aussie Racing Cars Championship. And now we'll start at the back of the field. It'll be at least 2 laps down, so it shouldn't be too far away from the safety car going in. Time certain finish, you'd think right now at 9 laps to go when we get to 3:13 local time here in Tasmania.
So if we get the safety car lights out and the field will come under control, it'll be Jai Robson then who has to maintain the pace, and when he gets the opportunity to go, he'll take off, and that'll be a good clean start for the Aussie race cars after a safety car.
There is zero vision for James Duckworth. Even though we had a couple of raindrops on our lens, you can see nothing out of this.
You tend to drive a bit by braille, a bit by, you know, picking the little pieces that you know that are there, and it is very difficult in these conditions, especially when you're in the top 2 or 3, it's not so bad. But obviously when you're right down in the field, it makes it very, very difficult. So as we know with Aussie race cars, a side-by-side restart, and they line themselves up now for a bit of a rolling start. So it's all very close, and they'll get them underway as they come onto the straight.
It's very cool. Gives it a bit more advantage to all the drivers rather than having one big, long freight train that would go pretty much back to the exit of turn 5. So Robson to the inside, Woods on the outside. Coming round for the restart. An impressive drive from car 98 this weekend, qualified well in the field. It's got Joel Heinrich in there as well. He's the 3rd car in that group. The young South Aussie racer. Woods on the outside and probably on a better line here. There's not really a racing line in these conditions, so it's all about getting the jump and being brave. As here comes the green flag and we're back underway in race number 2 of the Aussie racing cars here at Symmons Plains.
So it's a challenge there. Robson tried to get on the throttle and the car stepped out, but now it's Woods that's on the slippery stuff. So Robson will hang on the outside, but he runs very deep, and Woods comes back at him. So we're trying to get these cars through this first corner, and that run deep has now cost Robson. Woods has got the run on the outside, and he's going to put himself in the best position down into turn 4.
It's side by side, and look at Duckworth trying to push a gap open here with 3 wide on the run down, and now Duckworth takes the lead in car number 1. Will he be able to pull it up?
Oh,
no, he won't. No, he'll go down. So Duckworth, he had a go, but it's dropped him right to the back of this group.
So he got the run down the inside, but he found himself on the wrong part of the road. Robson and Woods just had to sit back and watch Duckworth go straight ahead. And now it's meant that the battle's back on with Woods and Robson for the lead. Robson's going to be leading as Woods pulls out under brakes. Can he pull it up? He's down on the inside, on the slippery part of the road.
Gets it done nicely and stops and puts the car down the middle, but Robson pushes the door back open. He wants entry back in there side by side. They haven't touched. This is phenomenal stuff from the front 2 guys. Lots of pressure and not any paint traded.
It's fantastic racing here. We've obviously in these conditions now Wood locks up and he runs deep, so that's going to give Robson a chance to come back at him. Blake Spears there in the background, he's doing a great job to hang on to 3rd, and it's Joel Heinrich in his debut who's now running in 4th in these very, very tricky conditions.
Fantastic, and now Thompson, not so fantastic, as he found the wall down there, and that's on the exit of turn number 6, coming back onto the main straight. So puts car 7 out to the back of the field. So was there assistance on the way through, or maybe he did it on his own? Meantime, back at the front, Woods now will start to feel the pressure. Robson will use the slipstream at nearly 180 kilometres per hour in treacherous conditions here in Tasmania. The cars squirm their way through the sweeper. Woods down the middle.
7 laps remaining, so this battle is going to go on. Woods now runs a bit of a high line, trying to find the grip, exploring the circuit, trying to work out where you want to be. Quite often on the normal racing line, the bitumen's very polished, and that's where it becomes very slippery. The rubber's down. You can see them struggling to get on the throttle as now Woods comes over the hit through that puddles. Will he lock it up this time? No. He gets through nice and clean, and Robson gets a good run.
We're meant to see the Kia Penrith logo on the main straight, and now they squirm their way again. So Woods will want to drive right where he is right now and make Robson go the high side.
It's not a bad place to be down the outside into the hairpin, that turn 4. That's where the grip is, right up high on the circuit. So if you can get a good run onto the straight, you'll be able to hold that position.
They stay together. They continue on. Oh.
So with Robson on the outside, he's managed to get the power down and getting a little run. That was always a good move to run around the outside in these conditions. A very much a go-karting type thing, so that experience is coming through. Sam Chester there having a moment. That looks like down at, can he get the car out?
Oh, no,
he's buried. So that's down on the exit of turn 1. So that car's going to be right in the way of these cars approaching. But Woods comes back again. Under brakes, deep, side by side through turn 6. Robson now on the outside. That's the place to be. As we come around turn 7, Woods trying to get on the throttle, but he's on the slippery part of the racetrack.
Great racing.
Away. Yellow flag here now. We've got a car off. Take it easy, just nice and cautious through this section. But have a look at Blake Skibiris there. He's actually closing on these.
Uh-oh. There's another car spinning off, and that's Chamberlain. He's going to bury himself in the gravel. Just like that.
High and dry.
The Power by Parenzo entry in the gravel down at turn number 1. It's now Blake Skibiris wants a piece of the action. He wants to move up to second place now and gets it done at the Tyre Power hairpin.
Young Blake was racing last weekend in Sydney in a Hyundai Excel up against my son. Actually, they were battling away for the podium up there, having fun, and he's delivering this weekend as well. Now passing Woods, who's been really the man to beat. And look at Symmons, he's actually got a very good gap on Woods now. He's now chasing down Robson.
This brings Chris Stevenson into it, who's the fastest man on this lap. He's putting him in hand over fist on the run down to turn number 6. They're in the 1:10 ranges. Down the inside he goes and takes 3rd position. The Mafra Service Centre, number 88, slots himself into a top 3 position. Was this Robson? Oh man. Oh, it's nervous.
It's very exciting at that speed, let me tell you. You're flat in top gear, and all of a sudden the car steps sideways. And Skibiris, he's locked up under brakes, he's gathered it up, he's underway. Now, I know some of these guys were considering putting a fresh tyre on for these conditions, so they had what you'd call their dry weather tyres, which is a fairly worn set, and a brand new set sitting there just in case of these conditions.
So will Robson hold on, or will a 24-year-old from Berkshire Park in Sydney break through for a win at Tasmania? He's got the car pace, and Robson is responding now. Fastest the first sector. Lap 11 of 14. It will be one more to go after this. We've gone over 3:13. And here he comes. 3/10 of the last sector. It's going to be a lot less than that now on the run to 6.
Car's squirming under brakes. Skibiris now got that toe. Will he pull out and go under brakes? Oh, he's having a think about it. No, he's not going to get there. So Robson runs the high line again, looking for that grip. Squeeze the throttle on, nice and gentle with steering. Ruth Bowler there, she's had a moment right in front of the leaders. She's pulling out of the way. And here they come. There's yellow flags in this zone. So will he be able to overtake? No, he can't. He won't be able to have a look there.
It needs to be the prime spot. Robson's had a couple of moments down here trying to pull the 6-star entry up. This time, it's perfect on the exit. Cars littered everywhere. Now they're back into a green flag zone.
Blake had a really good run there under that under the bridge, but he copped the puddle and had the car sliding from underneath him. So it's given Robson a bit of a breather into turn 4.
Down into the hairpin. What's Stevenson? He's in 3rd and could get 2nd here if Skibiris doesn't look into his mirrors. One real passing opportunity remains on the final lap of race number 2.
It's too far back now. It looks like Robson's pretty comfortable here, unless he has a bit of a moment. But Skibiris, he's doing everything he can, isn't he, Blake? He's trying hard. He's going to go deep under brakes. Put the pressure on Robson. Will he maintain that lead? Stays on the high line again. He's found that bit of grip where he likes it. He's staying off the racing line.
It's going to be enough for him. He comes around, and it's going to be 2 wins from 2 starts here for Jai Robson, who gets it by 2 car lengths here in race number 2 of the Aussie Racing Car Championship. Man, oh man, it was another thrilling race with that safety car added in. We're seeing the changing of the guard here, aren't we? And that's Stevenson.
Yeah, Stevenson. So he must have had a moment somewhere while we're watching the leaders down into turn 6. But yeah, so obviously what a great result. But Stevenson probably had that moment down there in turn 6.
He was 3rd and finds himself down in 8th at the end of that. But don't tell me it wasn't over till the end. Heinrich gets himself another 6th position. These guys think it's still a race, but the checkered flag has come out. Well, it's just an insurance policy lap maybe for him. Jai Robson, your winner by 0.3 of a second over Blake Skibberus. Impressive drive up to 2nd. Woods 3rd. Tressida 4th. Back to Ben Walsh, Joel Heinrich. Down to Reece Chapman and Matty Dunstan. Top 10 effort. Back to Thompson, Jeff Waters, Lee Bowler, Emma Clark and Ruth Bowler, who went down 1 lap after that spin in the final turn. And Charlotte Pointing with that safety car period